Aw. Hi guys. I've been promising this video. Who's that? Who is that little boy? I've been promising this video on Instagram for so long now, and I'm finally sitting down to do it. I have a little co-host with me. Screamer. Go get your toys. My phone is not a toy. Go get your toys. Oh, maybe I can't do this with him. Oh, he's waving. You're so cute. No, don't touch. Who is that? Who is that? Oh gosh, so where do we even begin with this video? Hey. A lot of you know, if you follow me on Instagram, that Leo and Bentley share a room together. And whenever I have them on, I always get asked questions about it because they both are very good sleepers and they both sleep in. And so people always ask, and I've shared a couple times on Instagram, just like talked about sleep and sleep training in the past. Go get your toys. Go get mommy your toys. Go get them. Okay, so let's just do a deep dive. I first want to just preface by saying I'm not a sleep expert, I'm not a doctor, but I am a mom and I have had 3 kids of my own, and I feel like I am a veteran when it comes to sleep and little ones. So I just want to share my tips, my advice from one mom to another. Sleep is one thing that we all, I think, worry about, stress about, and struggle with. If you're new here, we have 4 kids. I personally have had 3 babies, 3 pregnancies. Our oldest lives with us full time. I consider him one of mine, but I was not pregnant with him or had the pleasure of being his mama when he was a baby. So I can't speak to, you know, him as a baby. Then I have Addie, who's 7. And I have Bentley, who's 3, and Leo just turned 1 in August. So first time mom with Addie, I read all the books. I read Baby Wise, I read the Lulla Baby Sleep Plan. I tried to talk to as many moms as I could. Really, there weren't that many that I knew of outside of my family. None of my friends had babies, so I just kind of looked online and read books to try to figure out the sleep thing. Looking back, kind of wish I didn't do that, but I get why I did it, right? First time mom, I didn't know anything, and I just wanted to learn. I think from the get-go, I was already worried and like stressing out about sleep when I didn't even know my child. I didn't even know her. I hadn't met her. I didn't know what kind of baby she was or would be. And I think that really all depends when you're talking about sleep. I think it's so different for every child, and I think one of the things that I, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% know, is how you are as a mom trickles down to your kids when it comes to sleep, especially. If you're really high strung, if you are stressed out about it, if you're trying to be super regimented from the jump, I think you're gonna get some pushback from your kids. I have definitely taken on a much less intense approach with the boys. Bentley from the beginning was naturally a great sleeper. I never had to really stress about him and sleep. There are a couple differences between Addie and Bentley as babies that I definitely think is the reason why Bentley was such a better sleeper than Addie was, and why I never really did sleep training with Bentley or with Leo. I nursed all 3 of them. I nursed Addie until she was 14 months old, and I nursed Bentley until he was about 10 months, and this one until he was about 7 months old. That's also hard, you know, as a mom, because if you're just solely breastfeeding, unless you're like pumping and letting your husband wake up in the middle of the night, I'd say 90% of us that are exclusively breastfeeding are doing it all ourselves throughout the night anyway. So one thing I made the mistake of doing that I didn't know at the time was a mistake was I would nurse Addie to sleep. Not on purpose, but naturally she would always fall asleep at the boob. And then I remember so vividly, I would try to like set her down and then creep out of the room, not making any noise. And then one wrong move, she would wake up or she would hear something. I would drop something or the door would turn and she'd be up and I'd be back to square one. I'd put her back on the boob, get her back to sleep, and do that again, do that whole thing over again. And the worst part about that was if she ever dropped her binky in the middle of the night, I had to go in because she was crying. She didn't know how to self-soothe. And she wasn't the worst sleeper, but I was waking up, I remember I was waking up 2 to 3 times a night. I remember always the 4 a.m. witching hour. And as she got a little bit older, it became less, but I remember she was still waking up at 4:30 a.m. when she was 8 months old. And the hardest part for me was the fact that if I wasn't with her, like if her dad was with her or I had my mom watching her or something, she wouldn't go to sleep without being nursed. And that's hard when, I was a stay-at-home mom, but there was definitely times where I had a doctor's appointment or I remember I had to go somewhere for work. And that was kind of why I started doing the sleep training with her, because I remember I was on the Rachel Ray show. Some of you that are OGs might remember. And I went to New York for the day and I left really early, and my brothers actually were babysitting her. And I'll never forget, I came home, it was probably about like 5 or 6 o'clock after being gone from 6 a.m. I came home to my brothers pushing her in the stroller around the house and said she hasn't slept all day. And I felt so terrible because, oh, I don't want that. No, thank you. Because when I'm with her, I could just nurse her and she could go right to sleep. But it was then that I realized, oh crap, like this can't be good, where she just relies on it so much. So I talked to my pediatrician and he said, at 8 months old, she's old enough now where she does not need to be getting a meal in the middle of the night. She's waking up out of habit. She's waking up because she knows that you'll come in and get her. And I'll never forget, he said to me, "Wouldn't you wake up for a gourmet meal at 4 a.m.? And I said, touche. Immediately started to do the, no thank you, the Lullababy sleep plan, where you just go in, you never pick them up, you just try to soothe them, rub their back, talk to them, but never pick her up. That failed miserably. So then we switched to the cried out method, which I know some people this is like a very divided topic. So I would just ask that you watch this without judgment on me or anybody else. If anybody wants to talk about it in the comments, as moms, there's enough judging in the mom world. So I'm just sharing my experience and what worked. I did the cried out method. It was hell the first night. I'll never forget, she cried, stubborn thing, for 2.5 hours. Granted, I was going in every 20 minutes. Me and her dad were taking shifts. We'd go in every 20 minutes and just, console her, not pick her up, just tell her it's okay, you have to go to sleep. The first night she went on for 2.5 hours until she finally fell asleep. The next night it was an hour, and then the third night she completely put herself to sleep. I've been told that it takes about a week for the cried out method to really take effect, but for us it was 3 days. And while those 3 days were a little torturous and hard, and I thought this is going to scar her for life, it was such a relief, and it was so amazing to know that it worked, and it was so worth it. And I felt like her dad and I got our sleep back. We weren't as stressed out, and it just worked. I was able to put her down for a nap without nursing her. If my mom had to watch her, she could put her down. So from there on out, it was fine. And she's 7, and she does not remember me making her cry it out. She's not scarred from it. It hasn't done any damage. Then we had Bentley, and that was the one thing that I was like, note to self, don't nurse to sleep. So I always made sure, even if he fell asleep on me, I would wake him up a little bit. Not that I was like, hey, wake up, but I would nudge him or like tickle him just a little bit, just to make sure that he was still in that like sleepy phase, but awake. Then I would put him down. So Bentley from day one learned how to self-soothe. He would fall asleep on his own, whether he was singing to himself or he would just roll over and go to sleep. And to this day, he's an amazing sleeper. He goes to bed around 8:30, and he sleeps until between 9 and 10 a.m. And Leo is the same way. Such a great sleeper. Where did your bubble go? Here. Also put him down to go to sleep awake. And I think that has made such a difference, because now when the boys would lose their binky in the middle of the night, or, I don't know, would roll over or sniffle or sneeze and it would wake them up, they could and still will just put themselves back to sleep. So that is my first tip. Put your babies down awake. And like I said, they don't need to be wide awake. They could be in that groggy nursing phase, but put them down awake so that they learn early on to self-soothe. The other tip I will say, and this isn't rocket science, but you want to keep a good routine. So for me and for the kids, it was always bath time, bottle, white noise, sleep sack or blanket, bed. And I never did the sleep sacks for nap time. I reserved them for bedtime because I felt like that always signaled them that, like, okay, this is nighttime, not nap time. A lot of times when they were younger, they would fall asleep in the swing. What's wrong? And I would just let them sleep there. With Addie, maybe a little bit more because it was just her and I had a lot of time on my hands and I was a stay-at-home mom, so I probably had time to do more research and try new things. But for the boys, like, our lives got super busy and I didn't always have the time to be so regimented. And so most of the time I was winging it. They would sleep in the car if they had to. If they fell asleep on the in the swing, I would let them sleep. If they fell asleep on me, sometimes I would let them sleep on me. What's wrong? He's so tired. I was just very chill about it. They would fall asleep. I didn't rush them up to their crib. I didn't do anything. I just let them sleep. Also, I never ever woke them. I never ever woke them to eat. I never was a believer in that. I can remember my grandmother and my mom saying, I can hear their voices, "You never wake a sleeping baby." And that might have been like the old-fashioned way, but that just always stuck with me. It would drive me absolutely crazy when I was in the hospital with both boys. We had visitors in and out all the time. They would sleep through it, and and these nurses, and I know that it was their job, and it was, you know, if you're a first-time mom, I could understand, but I was third kid, and they would come in like, "You need to wake him. It's time for him to eat." And I pushed back a little bit, you know, like, I feel like I know my kids, and they wouldn't sleep this soundly if they were hungry, and I'm not going to wake them because I feel like you're waking them to eat every 2 hours. You're training them to wake every 2 hours. And so I just never did. I never woke my kids to eat. I never was super diligent, even with Addie. Like, when she would wake up, she would wake up. Now, granted, now I put the boys down for their nap. Bentley doesn't nap all the time. Still, he will if I enforce it, but I put Leo down for his nap between 1:30 and 2, and he will sleep until 5, and I do wake him. If I don't wake him by 5, he has a hard time going to bed by 8 or 8:30. So in that regard, I would wake him just so that he'll sleep through the night. But when they were babies, infants, I never woke them up. Granted, if they're, you know, not gaining weight as much, because there were times where they would, like, pretty much skip a whole meal because they were sleeping right through it. But again, I think that they just had really good meals prior to going to sleep, like a really good nursing session, that they stayed full and happy and slept. So that was another thing. And I know a lot of doctors will probably disagree with me saying that, but I never woke my kids to eat or to just stay on a routine. That's the other thing too. Like, I was never that, like, sleep for 2 hours, up for 2 hours, sleep. Like, I kind of let them take the lead with that, not with everything. I also, in sticking with that, I was never that mom that would, like, center my days around their nap schedule. My kids got naps every day. Sometimes it was at 1, sometimes it was at 2. It was just what worked for us. I was never that mom to, like, have to leave early somewhere because they had to take a nap. Or I was never that mom to not go someplace because it interrupted with their nap. If there's one thing Dan and I always agree on, and I've done this with all of my kids too, even with Addie, my kids are on my schedule, like what works for us. And they have learned to become so, go with the flow, easy kids. We take them to restaurants all the time without iPads and iPhones in their face. We go everywhere with them. We stay late at my parents' house, stay late at Dan's house. On holidays, we're up until, 12, 1 o'clock sometimes. We play games. And if the kids fall asleep, they fall asleep. I mean, Leo's still younger, so we'll put him to bed. But, like, Addie and Bentley will stay up, and then they'll just sleep in the next morning. I feel like I would be missing out. We would be missing out on so much if I constantly revolve my life around my kids' sleep schedules. And I have had friends that do the whole sleep training thing and are so regimented, and they're also so completely stressed, and their baby is not sleeping great. And I mean, I have had to, in a nice way, talk to some of my friends and be like, I get what you're trying to do. Like, you buy the app, you pay a sleep trainer, you're charting everything. I get what you're trying to do, but it's obviously not working because your child is not sleeping. She's not sleeping long enough. She's not going down easy. So I get like the control freak in you, because I'm the same way, but it's not working. If it's working, I mean, stick with it, you know, you do you. But if it's not working, you got to make some changes. And I feel like instead of saying, oh, it's time for their nap, you need to read your child's cues. Like right now, I know this baby is so tired, and I'm being a bad mom by making him stay up. Are you so tired? And they're that little, like, you know, as a mom, you know their cues when they're tired, when they're hungry, when they didn't get enough sleep, when it's time to put them down for a nap or for bed. He keeps throwing it. What are you doing? What are you doing? So I say, like, as a mom, nobody knows your kid better than you do. Despite what the pediatrician's telling you, guess what? The pediatrician's telling you and every other mom in there for their 9-month well check the same thing. Your pediatrician doesn't know your baby better in the 10-minute well appointment than you do in the 9 months that you've been with them 24/7. So I think a lot of it is just taking the pressure off, taking the expectations off, and honestly just winging it. Listen to your kids, watch them, look for social cues, and do what works best for you and your family. I have had friends that will invite out to dinner. Oh, we can't bring the kids out to dinner. Why? Oh, they just don't behave. And I'm like, but you're the parent. Like, make them behave, you know? We've brought the kids out to dinner with us. We like going out to dinner on the weekends. We go out and we would bring them from 2 months old. Are you teething? You have a toothy coming in? Your tooth's hurt? Yeah. You threw your bobo? You want me to get it so you can throw it again, right? So we've always brought our kids out to eat with us, and I feel like at this point they just adapt so well. Here. They just adapt so well, and I think they just adapt so well to our days and our lack of routine. I mean, we have routines, but they're very loosely based. Like, they're not super regimented. I feel like that also sets you up for failure. I mean, granted, now we're in a pandemic, so we're really not going anywhere, and sleep training was probably a lot easier than it was for me when I had 3 other kids at home, and I was with this one too, trying to get him on a type of schedule. But I never, like, I get asked this all the time, like when Leo was a baby and Bentley, what's his schedule like? And I'm like, why do you even want to know that? Because what my schedule is, what his schedule is not going to be working the same for you and your child. So I feel like while it's nice to just get some advice or help, you need to do what works for you and your kids. But if there's one thing I can give advice with, and I do this with all of my friends too, in a loving way, because I do have some super high-strung friends that just stress out over, you know, their kids not sleeping or whatever. My best piece of advice is to just relax. Relax. You're not going to break these babies if you let them cry a little bit. If they learn to self-soothe, you're doing them a favor and you're doing yourself a favor. Honestly, doing them a disservice by running in there every time you hear them cry or wake up, because they're never going to learn to self-soothe. They're never going to learn to be okay without you running in there every 2 seconds. And I promise you, it might be easier for one kid to do that, but as you have more kids and life gets busier, it becomes very, very, very hard, and then in return, you just become a ball of stress. So I say just pay attention to your child. Keep your child on your schedule. Keep a loosely based, like I can tell you every day, Leo takes a nap between 1 and 2. Sometimes it's 2:30, sometimes it's 3, but he's always awake by 5. He goes to bed between 8:30, sometimes it's 9 if we weren't home right at 8 o'clock. But we keep the same routine. We give him his milk, we put on the white noise machine, I put some oils in his diffuser. He knows when it's bedtime. And from the beginning, even if I would put him down and he would call out, like cry out a little bit, I would just let him go. And literally it was only ever 10 minutes at the most. Even now, even when he was like 6 or 7 months, he would always go down to sleep right away. If he would wake up in the middle of the night crying, I never ran in there right away. I would give him a chance to see if he's gonna put himself back to sleep. Most of the time it's because his pacifier fell out or he rolled over wrong, and he would just go right back to sleep. On the nights that he was still crying, that I know that's not like him, I would run in there because I'm thinking to myself, he's probably wet, or he has a dirty diaper, or you know, maybe his pacifier fell out of his crib. So I would go in, give it to him, I would change his diaper, I'd put him right back down to sleep, and he goes to sleep. So I think it's been an amazing life lesson learned from having Addie as a first-time high-strung, wanting to just know all the things, to 3 kids later, doing things a little bit differently. Ow! Ow! I love you. What? I just have confidence in yourself. Everybody's going to give you advice when you become a mom. Most of it is unwarranted and not wanted. So take it with a grain of salt and just do what works best for you and your family. But as far as sleep training, I don't know. The cried out method always worked for us. Cried out might not work for everyone, but it's worth a shot, I think. Do your toofies hurt you? You need a hug? You need a hug? Come to mama. Oh, I love you. But don't stress it early on. Like, I remember I have had some friends will like have a baby and 2 weeks later they're like texting me, at what point do you get them on a routine? It's like, whoa. They're newborns. They're gonna nurse on demand, want to be held all the time. Need you. Soak it up because it goes so fast. I really would say not to stress about like a structured routine until they're at least 3-4 months old, especially if you're nursing. I think it's easier if you're using formula or bottle feeding because you have help with that. But when you're nursing and you're running on fumes and you're just trying to survive, don't stress. Like, ask yourself, why am I so worried about this routine? Is it because you are just type A and you want to have a routine? Some kids need the routine and they need the structure, but you know your kid best. You want to go nini-non? Okay. You mamas, you guys, you got this. Don't second guess. Give yourself grace and reach out if you need any encouragement. Benny, Leo, I called him Benny. Can you say bye? Can you wave bye-bye? Wave bye-bye. 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 Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful. And we'll see you in our next video. Bye.